Hello, everyone. Welcome to Football Worldwide, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Everything EPL, a new episode, a new week, an exciting week. Lots of things happening, lots of games happening. We're going to talk about all of them. I'm here with my friend Bruno. How are you today, my friend?
Mate, it was a fantastic match day, and I've been really excited and really grateful that you've asked me to be on this episode. It was fantastic and so much to cover, so let's get straight into it.
Absolutely, man. There's a lot of games happening, guys. All the action is happening this week from Chelsea, Ronaldo, Arsenal winning back-to-back games, United, Southampton, and Manchester City. Everyone has played and everyone performed good. Some teams not very great, but we're going to start right away. Absolutely in the Tottenham Stadium. We have to start there. Bruno, Spurs dismantled in the second half. Maybe not that much in the first half, but exactly the same as last game. But without the red card, that last game, their excuse was the red card. This game, no excuse, dismantled by an absolutely magnificent Chelsea team that played them off the park in every single aspect.
Yeah, look, I got to agree with that there. I've said it multiple times on this program. I said it on the European Weekly Catch-Up program. Tottenham are going to be found out eventually. They started the season phenomenal. They played a weak and tired Manchester City in match day one. Everyone said they were calling it. Then they played Wolves and they got the point there, the 3 points there. And everyone's saying everything, but we've seen how the Wolves have been playing lately. So that's not really a good excuse. This Tottenham team has been found out, and they were found out quite quickly. And the criticism comes when you look at how and where everyone is looking to progress. And Chelsea, one of the title contenders, and you got to agree with that, have really shown who they are. And just the performance Chelsea put in, that first half, it was full of Chelsea chances, and they just failed to capitalise. But although Tottenham did have a couple of chances, they never really looked threatening. You had that in the back of your mind that even if Tottenham did get the goal, it was never going to be enough one goal, and it was proven. The second half was the Thiago Silva show. It was the Kante show, and that just revolutionised the way that Chelsea went on in that fixture. But my one negative aspect for Chelsea, in this opinion, is Lukaku has gone missing in a game yet again. And a big game. Not he's gone missing, but he's failed to score. We've seen multiple criticisms across the board from when he was at Manchester United to Inter to now Chelsea. When it comes to the big games and the big teams, he needs to put those performances in. But I don't know, Mo. What do you think? Is this Chelsea the team that needs to be stopped? We've got Chelsea, Manchester City next week, a clash that, as a Manchester City fan, I'm extremely looking forward to. But I personally think the winner of this fixture goes on to win the Premier League this season.
Let me
And
just tell you something, Bruno. You asked me a question about Chelsea, right? And I'm going to tell you this. Yeah. They are not only title contenders, in my opinion. With the depth they have, they are actually the title favorites. I know Liverpool are playing really well, but Chelsea, man down, tied to Liverpool, they actually succeeded to get a point. And also, I think still, if one starter is gone missing from Liverpool, they're going to struggle. I think this is a fact. They don't have that much depth. Manchester City, we're going to talk about them later. I don't want to talk about them now, but the difference between Man City and Chelsea is that Chelsea, they have a way to play. It doesn't change. Manchester City, depending on who's on the field, if it's Grealish, Sterling, Mahrez, it changes a little bit of the way they play. Kevin De Bruyne, if he's not in his day, it makes a big difference. Chelsea, Havertz, Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic, it doesn't matter who's on the field. They will perform. They have the depth to actually go all the way and do the job and get this job done. If they win next game, I have to agree with you. But I'm going to shift a little bit to Spurs. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. about Spurs. Where is Harry Kane and Son? What happened to them in this game? And why is Harry Kane trying to drop to be the creator and the top scorer? We know that he was the top scorer and the top assist last season, but it's not going to happen every season. They need him to be in the 18. So why is he dropping, and what's going on? What is Nuno's identity here? What is he trying to build?
You gotta look at Tottenham as a whole, and Nuno as a manager, he drove a fantastic Wolverhampton team to some form of success, but he never really won anything. And when you've become, and you got to think, Nuno was the last, and I'm talking last choice manager for Tottenham, who really just needed to find someone at the end of the day. After the end of last season, they just struggled to get pen to paper for a long list of managers. So Nuno really didn't have a chance to develop this team the way he really wanted. And you look at that, and then you look at the whole Kane saga. Now, I look at it like this, Mo. If I'm Son, if I'm any of those players in that team, and I turn around and say, I want to leave this club, send me to a rival now. Oh, sorry, I want to stay. I'm back at the top of the pecking order. Now, imagine how the rest of the team feel playing around Kane, who could turn around and click his fingers, I'm leaving now. I want to go now. I want to do this now. It feels like the favoritism is starting to show the rest of the team, and they're looking very disjointed. I'm sure you remember last season, Harry Kane and Son were one of the most deadliest duos in the Premier League. If Harry Kane scored, you see that Son was the player who assisted, and the same goes for Son when he scored. They were such a lethal combination. I'm not sure. This was the first game we really saw both of them play together. Unfortunately, it's against the fantastic Chelsea team that we see at the moment. I think when Son and Kane start to rebuild that chemistry together, you'll see them progress. But I just don't see them being a Champions League team this season. I cannot see them competing for that top four with the way it's looked out to be. And I have said that from the day one.
I think if Spurs gets top six, it's where they should be, and it is their maximum achievement this season. And it's gonna next game against Arsenal. We're gonna talk about it later about the games next week. This is really, really kind of an ambition decider for both teams. Where do you want to be this season? How they're gonna play this season? It's gonna be the next game. I'm gonna move to the other game on the same day today. It's Sunday today. It was West Ham, Man United. This was a fantastic game. Like everybody, it felt like a little bit of a basketball game, end-to-end game. Even though Manchester United, they had ball position, but still West Ham picked their moment and they actually went for it. David Moyes having this team playing really, really well. I'm someone, you remember me from last year, even on when we were talking about Inter in the Serie A, I was talking about Michael Antonio being one of my top strikers always. I love how he plays, and he was absent today, but David Moyes, credit to the guy. It didn't matter that his talisman is not there. It didn't matter that the Premier League August player of the month is not there. They still kept going. They still played their game. They tried so hard. They kept Man United like in check some parts of the game, and they still went forward. I want to say something about West Ham. This team is going to be okay this season. They play well. They perform well. They're going to be okay. They still will challenge for European places, 6th, 7th, 5th. I don't think it's going to go like last season when they challenged for top 4, but they're going to do top 6. Man United today performed, to be honest, as that same big team like back in the days. You remember Fergie time? Jesse Lingard came in, and I'm sorry for West Ham fans. The guy, they really loved him last season on loan, and to come and score against them in their stadium, it's I know it's not great for West Ham fans, but I think it's really good for Lingard after the ball that he gave away against Young Boys in the Champions League. And you talked about this in the Champions League show about him coming in and giving that ball. It's devastating for someone like him who is trying to get a starting position. Ronaldo scoring again, the big guy Ronaldo. Hey Bruno, tell me, is he ever going to stop scoring? Are the headlines going away, or it's a Ronaldo?
Even if Ronaldo doesn't score, the intimidation factor of playing against Ronaldo puts shivers down the spine of the opposition. And you could see that. One thing West Ham did extremely well, and I got to give them credit, is Ronaldo was just another player to them. They weren't intimidated by him. They were not scared to go near him. And the referee, and I messaged you earlier, there were countless penalty calls. There was 3 penalty shouts from Ronaldo, and there was one attack by Wan-Bissaka, which I really wanted to talk about. But in Ronaldo's instances, although the foul may have been there, he was already falling. He was already diving. And I think the referee made a big mistake here. You either call the penalty because it's a foul, or you pull the yellow card out because it's a dive. One way or the other. Because after the first one, okay. After the second one, come on. The third one shouldn't have happened because Ronaldo should have been on. He should have been given a warning. And after the game in the post-match meeting, the referee's boss, a former referee who normally joins the panel and talks with him, said, "Look, I would have given the penalty on one of the occasions, but not the others." And they criticised him. They said, "Well, why wasn't the yellow shown?" And that's the issue I have there. Another, I find it quite comedic, is the penalty West Ham got at the end of the game. I thought maybe it's still fresh in the minds of the English fans, the English coaches, what happened in the Euros final when you bring on fresh players just to take a penalty, and it didn't work then, and it was never going to work now. This guy, he may not have missed a penalty since 2016, but he had one touch that entire game, and that was that penalty shot which he missed. De Gea, on the other hand, has not saved a penalty since 2016. So I think overall, Man United are an extremely strong team. Anthony said it in the Champions League show. Jonathan said it before. They're not being coached by the best possible manager for the team. And as Anthony put it, Donkey Kong at the wheel of a Ferrari. But this team has gone a massive change in the offseason with the 3 key signings of Sancho, Varane, and Ronaldo. It is amazing they're doing so well so quickly. But credit's got to go to West Ham and David Moyes. Everyone said he was a terrible manager following his stint at Manchester United, but he's just proven to everyone he knows what he's doing. He just needed to be given the proper, adequate chance. And West Ham are not a walk in the park as they've been previous seasons. And they may have been missing Antonio, but my gosh, they're a strong team this season, and no one should have any right to write them off.
Absolutely. Nobody's going to find it easy playing West Ham home and away. It's going to be tough. The stadium is rocking. The players are up there. David Moyes has a plan. It's working for them. Another title contender and another thrashing by Liverpool. 3-0 Crystal Palace. I gotta say that the scoreline does not reflect how Crystal Palace played. It reflects how strong Liverpool are, the team. But Crystal Palace started really well. They missed a couple of chances. They pressed Liverpool. But here comes Virgil van Dijk. Here comes Jurgen Klopp. Here comes the experience about picking the moment, absorbing the pressure. Yes, some chances, but 10 minutes gone, and then Liverpool started relentless pressure on Crystal Palace. They were absolutely hammering them cross after a cross, shot after a shot. It was just relentless from them until they scored. Mane, this is his 100th goal for Liverpool, a milestone, another guy with a milestone, brilliant player. He has been absolutely fantastic and magnificent in the last 4 or 5 years for Liverpool. Phenomenal player. I want to talk about Liverpool. Do you think, in your opinion, Liverpool can win the title, or they only can just hash it like they're like touch it, hash the other teams, like poke them, but they're not actually going for the title.
Look, I think Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, you'd be quite uh, immature to think that they cannot win this. They definitely can win the title this season. They can definitely win the Champions League this season. But Liverpool are one injury away from a terrible season as well. They lack extreme depth up front, back. We saw what happened to Liverpool when Van Dijk copped the injury last season, right? Yes, he's your central defender. Yes, he is your captain. But at the same time, one injury should not define your season. One injury should not decide your title push. One injury should not be, and I feel that's where Klopp will fall apart. Up front, they've had some phenomenal purchases, and they've strengthened their attack. But we saw the injury to Elliott last week. It was terrible injury, but at the same time, he's only just debuted in the Premier League for Liverpool, so he wasn't an integral part of the season just as of yet. But you could see they're trying to incorporate him into that position. But Liverpool are a great team. On paper, they're fantastic. Their starting 11 is extremely solid. But when you start to venture outside of the starting 11, that's when you start to see the problems. The substitutes they may be like for like, but it's the quality there's a massive decline in quality once you bring in one player or the second player, right? I just think they definitely can push, but this Liverpool team will be similar to last year's Chelsea team, where they need to decide, are they going for the Champions League or are they going for the Premier League? Because you will see them focus on one rather than the other. We saw Chelsea do that into the back end of the Champions League last season. They're like, no, we're going for the Champions League, and they dropped points in the Premier League, but they made up for it. And this season, they've just strengthened their squad ridiculously well in regards to depth and stuff. But Liverpool, I think they're in the same boat. But Jurgen Klopp as a manager, he's shown at Dortmund, he's shown it at Liverpool. He can get the best out of these players, but you need quality players to compete in the Premier League in what is one of the most competitive seasons we have seen in an extremely long time, that's for sure.
I think this is going to be an amazing season ahead of us. I just want to get a shout out to Crystal Palace, who actually played really well despite the loss. They actually created chances. They were always in the game. They were always threatening Liverpool. They were never like a surrendered team. They played really well. I think Patrick Vieira is on to something. I think this team is going to be okay this season. I think they can finish mid-table. I hope they won't get sucked into a relegation battle. Moving to the Etihad. And all I want to say is another game and another decision from Pep Guardiola, changing 6 in the lineup, trying to do something something was working last game. You were scoring and you were doing, yes, your defense is not great, but why the thinking? And I'm very disappointed that they had one shot on target the whole game. You as a Man City fan, how do you feel after tying with Southampton home?
Southampton at home, we've seen Southampton already come with a couple of upsets. There was the 1-1 draw with Manchester United earlier this season where they were home and they kept Manchester United to 1-1. They've kept City. So Southampton, even West Ham, 0-0. You know, they're a team which are a hard team to beat. And when they get set in their ways, they are phenomenal. But everyone looks at the result of Manchester City in the Champions League like they had it easy in that fixture. Let me tell you now, that fixture against RB Leipzig was an intense game. It was non-stop. And Pep said it after the game. He goes, I need the fans there because we need that extra person against Southampton because they were lacking something. It was a red card in the Leipzig game that really allowed Manchester City to motor on and power through and get those 6 goals. But up until that red card, it was a very tight fixture. And it was draining. And I could see the team when the team came out. You could really tell that there was fatigue. There was fatigue, and with Grealish playing, you can afford to give De Bruyne a bit of a break. But at the same time, De Bruyne has been the catalyst for much of City's success in the last 24 to 36 months because he's just been that player who, when others aren't performing, his performance will make them improve. So when the game came out, I personally saw it being a draw. But the disappointing part, and especially as a Manchester City fan, but as a football fan in general, was the disallowed goal at the end of the game. Now, okay, credit where credit's due. An offside flag was it was given offside after Manchester City had scored for literally the smallest of margins. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware or our fans are aware, but in the off season, they said if it's this much, we're not going to rule offside. We're going to let the game flow. We're going to, and it raises the question of VAR over and over again, the indiscrepancies amongst each of the games. Because Ronaldo's goal against West Ham, he was offside. His arm was out. They changed the rule. They said well, a goal scoring part is blah, 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 right? They changed the rule. And last night, this morning, they adapted and they agreed, okay, he wasn't offside.
Yeah, but he didn't score with his arm.
He didn't.
With his arm.
But we've seen them give offside for that. Now, they said if it's a small, they're thickening the lines to show if the thicker line will allow for that little room for error. We didn't see that because it was literally millimeters.
It was his foot, I know, but an offside is an offside. I know what you're talking about. An offside is an offside, and I feel I feel your pain about like the offside. Oh my God, it's only his toe. It's only his foot. The line is thicker. But again,
did City deserve the 3 points? At the end of the day, no. A draw was a very fair result.
I'm going to talk to you about something else. I think the penalty against Kyle Walker was not a clear and obvious error. Kyle Walker did not touch the ball. I know that he got his body in front, the player Southampton, but they said VR will only do a clear and obvious. And the red card, yes, it's not a red card offense, but in my opinion, and I'm not a City fan or not a City fan, it was not a clear and obvious. And again, the discrepancy in what's clear and obvious here was, as you said, the offside. Was the line thick enough? Was he actually?
Yeah,
which frame did you use? Which frame did you use for the offside?
Look,
Same.
I think that Kyle Walker sets a very nice precedent in the sense of this is one of the rare times you have seen a red card being revoked and a penalty being overturned, right? And that is something you need to see in the sport. If you're introducing computers, if you're introducing these technology, you need to see it work efficiently. Now, the fact of the matter is, they took the red card off Kyle Walker, but they didn't give him another card. They said there is no foul there. So if there's no foul, well, there's no penalty. Right?
I disagree. I still think it was a foul. It's the same as, but this is that I think it was a foul, to be honest, because this is just my opinion. I'm not the referee there. That it's their job to do the job, but we as fans, as pundit, as people like who talk about football, we are entitled to say our opinions. And in my opinion, Kyle Walker actually roughed, and it was a penalty. And I don't think it was a clear and obvious, like, oh my God, no, if he got the ball, I would have understood it, but he didn't. He put his body in front of the opponent, and in my opinion, it's a penalty, but it's just my opinion. Who cares? It's their job. It doesn't matter. It's 0-0. Is this a dent in City's title challenge, or it's still too early?
I don't think it's a dent per se because of the timing, but I think the issue we saw in the preseason and in the transfer market is highlighted yet again. Now, we saw Manchester City put 6 past RB Leipzig in the fixture previously, right? We've seen them put ridiculous score lines on teams, and it highlights, they put 5 past Norwich, they put 5 past Arsenal. They beat Leicester, okay, 1-0. But at the same time, they've put 5, 6. Oh, we don't need a number 9. But it's in situations like on the weekend, a number 9 could have been the decisive factor in that game, because a number 9 knows how to get into a scoring position. A number 9's sole job is to get into a scoring position or to create that scoring part. And I think it's just highlighted the fact again. And you've got Pep, who is a very highly accoladed manager. And when you've got him at the helm of your club, you've got to trust what he has to say. But the results are speaking volumes here. And when you've come up against opposition like Leicester and now Southampton, you failed to put away Leicester. Though they should have really put a lot more past Leicester.
Absolutely.
They should have actually capitalised against Southampton. They held the ball. They knew what they're doing. They just couldn't get that final goal or final ball, or that final ball couldn't find someone. It's not a coincidence Ronaldo has scored in his 3 games for Manchester United as a striker, because he's a 9. He might be wearing the 7 jersey, but he's playing as a 9, right? And that's what you need from your strikers. And City, they failed to have that. This will be their undoing if they cannot get someone in the January transfer window. If we go back to last season, they were 12 points off the lead come New Year, and they completely wiped the league clean. They won't have that same luxury this year, because there's a lot more competition other than Manchester United at the front. And you've got teams like Chelsea and Liverpool who are proving to be such a strong team that they're not going to have the same luxury they had last season, where they could turn on the afterburn, they could turn on the engine halfway through the season and still get the result. So I think City has a lot of work to do. We saw a lot of success last season when De Bruyne would play the false 9 position, and it really opened up attacking positions. Maybe that's where Pep's got to look, but at the moment, as a City fan, as a Premier League fan, you've got to trust the manager. There's really nothing you can do now until the next transfer window. And with a team like Manchester City, you need a highly accoladed manager to manage, because there's a lot of egos there. So overall, I think they're no longer favourites to win, just with the power and the strength of Chelsea, Manchester United and Liverpool. I just think it's a 4-horse race, and Manchester City are behind.
I hope that City keeps going, because I want to see a 4-horse race this season. And I trust Pep Guardiola. He's not a failure. The guy's a brilliant manager, in my opinion, and he will get City there. And good news for the Londoners, Arsenal. 2 games back-to-back wins. Improved defensively, clean sheet again. It shows really with Gabriel and Ben White playing together. I still think it's not enough for Arteta. That the performance was not great in any form or shape. Odegaard goal was absolutely brilliant. Yes, it kind of overshadowed what's going on the team, because actually they missed a lot of chances. They should have put Burnley away earlier than keeping Burnley in the game until the last minute. Arteta, I don't see any. If you ask any Arsenal fan, what are you? They're like, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know what's the plan. What are we trying to build here? Are we an offensive team, defensive team? What do we do? Are we a possession team, counter-attacking team? Nobody knows. And this is why I disagree with a lot of Arsenal fans who think Arteta is a good manager. But I didn't see it. Now we're going into 2 years now, and I don't see it. It's not happening for him. Do you think Arsenal will actually compete for top 6, or you don't think so?
No, look, I think Arsenal will be lucky to get into the top 10, to be honest, because the display they had against Burnley, the defense. Okay, Ben White, he's starting to gel, and he's starting to find his place, which is fine. We haven't had the season's only just kicked off, so you're allowed to give time to a brand new signing to make his way into the squad. But I think the way Arsenal scored via a set piece just shows where they're at the moment. They're struggling to score in open play, and they're getting into good positions. They're getting into great positions. The goal last week that Aubameyang scored came off the post, and then he had a tap in. Right, so it was from fortune. You gotta say. So at the end of the day, they've gotten 6 points in 2 games, and on paper, they've gotten 6 points in 2 games where they failed to get any points in the previous three. But the way they did it, Burnley were really attacking as well. They had a lot of chances, and I thought even in my head, they were extremely fortunate that Burnley weren't in the game. They didn't get that goal, and one goal was enough. But sometimes you're going to need more than one goal, and sometimes you're not going to get that free kick where literally no one's running around and you've got that shot on goal. So, look, there's not much more to say about Arsenal. I've said it many times on this show, European Weekly Catch-Up. Arteta's a big problem at Arsenal, but at the moment, who can you get into that team that can really improve them as a manager? I don't know.
I don't think it's anybody. Burnley, new contract for Sean Dyche. 1 point from 4 games, now 1 point from 5 games. I think this is the year that they're gonna go down. But every year has been the year. Every year people say they're gonna go down. I don't fancy Sean Dyche's way of play, but it gets you results. It makes you stay in the league. But I think they're gonna be found out this year. I think the way of him playing that way of defensive and just hitting the long ball to Westwood and Rodriguez and Barnes, I don't think it's going to work. And there was talk sometime before about Sean Dyche going to be the English manager, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Burnley is good enough this year. They never add new players. They never add depth to their squad, and it just doesn't happen. It's not going to happen this year. And I hope they try to play in a different way to get some points, because them and Norwich are actually now, even 5 games in, they're the most likely candidates to go down, to be honest. And we're going to talk about Norwich later. I'm gonna go to the team that impressed me. Go ahead?
Can I
Yes.
just have one quick point on Burnley? They impressed me against Arsenal, and I think if they can keep playing like that, they might get an occasional win and a couple of draws to keep them up. But I just think they were impressive in the sense of they created the chances. They knew how to get the ball there. Their finish was off. Now, sometimes luck needs to be on your side. I really hope they don't go down, but I think you've hit the nail on the head. Now, I just want to bring your attention to a team that I said earlier on in the season I thought was going to get relegated. Brighton against Leicester. Mo, I know you're about to introduce it. I'm throwing it to you. What a fixture it was on. It was on at the exact same time as the Manchester United West Ham game. I had the Leicester game on my laptop playing, the Manchester United game on my TV playing. I was watching both, but it was brilliant.
All I can say is that I had West Ham Manchester United on a big screen, and as you, Brighton and Leicester, and I couldn't take my eyes off the Brighton Leicester game. It was so much happening in there. And okay, man, Graham Potter, Pep Guardiola said it 2 seasons ago. He said that the manager he enjoys the most in the Premier League is Graham Potter, because the way he plays, the expansive football they play, and it showed today. It didn't matter if Leicester had the ball, Brighton, they get the ball. The passing was absolutely phenomenal. The quick passing to get to the ball. Brighton created lots of chances the first half. It's disappointing that they scored from a penalty that I think it should have been overturned, to be honest. And it was very obvious to me that Mope pulled Vestergaard down. But again, they gave you the penalty. What did they do? Your job. They did their job. They put the penalty away. That's what they did. And full respect to everyone in Brighton who actually, he said, Graham Potter, I don't want to be in a relegation battle this year. 4 wins in 5 games puts them up there. Last season, they only got 9 wins. This season, already 4 wins. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to throw it to you about the penalty. The 2 goals that Leicester scored, they were offside. Yes, Barnes was on the offside, but do you think he was in the same line as the goalkeeper in both locations?
I look at it like this, Mo. Let's talk about the penalty. I commended the VAR and the referee in the Manchester City fixture for revoking a penalty. Not because I'm a Manchester City fan at heart, but because the technology is there not to just punish teams, but also there to correct. It's there to correct decisions that are incorrect, whether you awarded the penalty or not. Now, this instance, everyone, the commentary, the fans, everyone I have on socials, on Twitter, everywhere, it wasn't a penalty. Now, you don't give that penalty, that goal does not get scored. Do Brighton continue to go score the next one? No. Leicester were extremely deflated, and once this halftime came and they came out in the second half, it was one-way traffic. It was Leicester, Leicester, Leicester. That Vardy goal, it may have been a Vardy goal, but it was a fantastic team goal. The one-touch play leading up to that goal was phenomenal. Now, there were 2 instances where 2 goals were given. There were 2 goals that were scored, both VAR overturned as offside. Both times, the player who was offside had no contact with the ball at all, but the first and second one, the reasoning was he was obstructing the view of the goalkeeper from an offside position. The first instance, there is some argument you could say, yeah, he was blocking it. But as a good keeper, you got to put yourself in a position where you can see the ball. Doesn't matter if the players, if the Brighton defender was a little bit back, that player would have been in the exact same position and it would have been onside. So you as a goalkeeper, you got to put yourself in a better position. The second one, unfortunately, I can still not see how the player interfered with the goalkeeper in any shape, way, or form. I feel it was a very harsh decision. I feel Leicester definitely did not deserve to not get a point from this fixture. It was a game of 2 halves. The first half was all Brighton. The second half was all Leicester. But again, it brings into question, and I'm going to raise the discussion with you again, Mo. VAR was brought in to right a lot of the wrongs. There were many decisions over the years, contentious decisions across all of the competitions, international competitions, World Cups, Euros, everything, where VAR would have changed it all. They would have changed it all. Diego Maradona's famous hand of God would have been given a no goal. History would have been rewritten if VAR was around. Now, you've brought VAR to right these wrongs, but is it doing that job, Mo?
I don't think so. Today, in this game, absolutely not. It didn't. I think 2 decisions. I think maybe, as you said, the first offside was maybe there. He was in the line of vision. But the second one, he definitely wasn't. And they actually showed multiple angles that he wasn't. And Vestergaard, dude, it's very obvious that Moe pulled him down. What are you waiting for to overturn the penalty? What do you want? There is not anything more obvious than this. I have to say one thing about Leicester now. 6 points from 5 games. I don't think that's enough for a team that supposedly this year they actually strengthened their squad, who actually challenged really well for top 4 until the last game last year. But I don't know what is happening with the team, but the team is not performing well. As you said, they pushed the second half, but only after they conceded the second goal from Danny Welbeck. I don't think it's enough. They're
Mo,
not in the same. Go ahead.
can I throw this to you? They started the season with a 1-0 victory over Manchester City to win the Community Shield. They defeated Wolves 1-0. They lost to West Ham, who are one of the most informed teams at the moment in the Premier League. They defeated Norwich. They lost to Manchester City 1-0, where Manchester City put 10 goals in their previous 2 games. But what this fixture what really hurt about this fixture was the game they played against Napoli in the Europa League was such an intense 2-2 draw. Now, was the team ready to play again? I highly doubt it. And this week, of all weeks in the Premier League, there's the Carabao Cup. So Leicester will probably field a second-strength squad against Millwall, but at the same time, fixture congestion is starting to come into play between the Europa League, the domestic league, etc. This is where the teams without the squad depth, you will find them out really quickly. And I think Leicester's being found out. And unfortunately, they may have a strong squad. They've had some tough competition already, and we've seen the teams they've dropped points to. But I don't know. They are disappointing, but my question is, are they top 16?
I think so. The squad, the squad is. I think so. I think the squad is better than Tottenham, is better than West Ham, is better than Arsenal. So I think, actually, on paper, I think Leicester City are the 5th best team in the country, best squad-wise. But maybe they will pick it up. As you said, they had really rough start, especially that Napoli game on Thursday really hurts. And it was intense. It was really hard. Moving on to another, to be honest, a team that was, I don't want to say it was found out, but it was a reality check. Everton lost 3-0 to a brilliant 10 minutes of Aston Villa. Aston Villa, who played really good this game, actually created a lot of chances. And it was a balanced game until minute 65. And then suddenly, Everton just fell apart. It was just bang, 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 3-0. Okay, the game is gone from Everton. They couldn't find anything back. Aston Villa, it's actually very good that they won because they needed this win, Aston Villa, after a little bit of a rough start. Everton now, I don't want to say they lost the tracks, but losing 3-0 to Aston Villa when you're supposed to be a top 6 team, okay, I hope that Everton finally because they have the squad. Rafael Benitez makes him a better team. Do you give me a little bit of what you think about how did it fall down in 10 minutes? What happens to teams when they just 10 minutes they lose focus? What happened?
This was history repeating itself. But if we go back last week, Everton Burnley, the 60th minute, Burnley are winning 1-0. Right? The 66th minute, Everton are winning 3-1. They did the exact same thing last week as what happened to them this week. And you see it so many times. When you score a goal, you're most vulnerable because you're still in that moment of euphoria. When you concede a goal, you're most vulnerable because you're trying to put the pieces together as to what went wrong. And this was Everton against Aston Villa. Aston Villa have had so much to prove after selling Grealish. They invested their money into many different avenues. And we've said it all along, this team is a fantastic team on paper. They should be doing a bit better. But Everton, at the same time, it's their first loss of the season. They're on the same points as current champions Manchester City. 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Now, a mind collapse like what happened against Aston Villa, it's something where a smaller team will spiral down, right? But a team that's been led by Rafa Benitez, he will teach them a lesson. This is the same team that was coached by Ancelotti last season, am I not correct?
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
they're on the same points as the current champions, Manchester City. They may have had an easier run, but this isn't the Everton that we've been accustomed to in years before. This is an Everton that, if they finish the top half of the table, it's a good season for them. And I think they're on track to finish ninth, maybe eighth, right? But I just think it was immaturity with the team. It was something that this is now where we will learn who Everton truly are, because how they go on to the next fixture. Now, let me move outside of the Premier League for one moment, and let's go to Italy, the Serie A, a team we both support, Inter Milan. They played a Champions League fixture against Real Madrid where they absolutely dominated, and they managed to lose 1-0 in an 89th minute goal. But they came back over the weekend and put six. They scored six to win. Now, Everton, the same thing here. They may not have deserved it, but they copped 3 goals in the space of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was. Now, what happened in that fixture needs to be left there, and Benitez, as a manager, needs to get them, oh, whatever. Don't worry about that. Let's start again. Let's start from the ground up. Let's work. Guys, this is what has worked so well for us in match day 1, 2, 3, and 4. So why can't it not work for us in this match day? So they're up against QPR in the Carabao Cup. This is a fantastic fixture for Everton to regain that momentum, to regain that. It's an easier fixture. One would assume Everton should have this under lock and key very early on. So it's a great fixture for them to have moving in. But then they also got Norwich on the weekend. So again, another fixture which you should assume Everton should have a firm grasp on. If we have this conversation this time next week, Mo, and Everton's drop points against either Everton or Norwich or QPR, then we can start talking about there's problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a great win for Aston Villa. The fact that they're going away to Manchester United is really crucial. That they had these 3 points, and Everton going to Norwich. I think, as you said, and QPR, it's a great chance to bounce back from this loss. Wolves, Brentford. It's a great, to be honest, it's a great win for Brentford, who actually have terrible run coming. They have Liverpool, West Ham, Chelsea, and Leicester, and it's really good that Brentford, they already have 8 points on the board. It's actually really, really good. I feel Brentford, they play like they belong. It's a great win for them away to Wolves. This is something, like, to be honest, it was great. They actually managed to limit Wolves to no shots on target, even after getting the red card in the 64th minute. Who are the player was going to be subbed out, and then he just, you know what, I'm going to do something stupid, and I'm going to just get a red card. This is what am I going to do? But I want to go back to Wolves for you. Brentford, good for them, did everything. Wolves, where do they go from here?
Yeah, I'm glad you led down that avenue, because Brentford, yeah, fantastic that they won. But the story of this match is Wolves and what is happening at Wolverhampton. We've seen the loss, and I think the transfer market really hurt them this year. We saw the loss of that many players from the Wolves, and critical players, as well as their manager, who had a fantastic relationship with all of his players. So the correlation between the manager leaving and key players within the Wolverhampton team leaving really shows Nuno's hold on the Wolves and what he potentially can carry as a manager. But I believe it was Jordan in your first episode who said that Wolves will be going down.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
not correct?
I
And,
think Jordan predicted them to go down, and I
and
actually said they
my
have a good
response to
squad.
that, the following week when you and I did the next podcast was, wait a minute, no, I don't agree with that. Now I'm starting to see what Jordan saw. But you also got to look at Brentford. They're the fairy tale team this year. I predicted Brentford to go down just as quickly as they came up. I thought they would have been one season. They've only lost one game in their first 5 fixtures. They've had 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. Now, credit where credit's due. This team has done phenomenal, and you really gotta you can't argue with Brentford the way they've played at the moment. And their only loss came to the hands of the informed Brighton at the moment, and it was a 90th minute goal. I'm not sure if you remember that last week. A 90th minute goal
Uh,
gave Brighton a 1-0 win
it was
over Brentford.
actually against the run of play.
Again, exactly.
It was against the run of play. Yeah.
Brentford were extremely strong last week, and they've shown it this week. But the story of this match is the Wolves. You know, Ivan Toney, yeah, he got 31 goals last season, and he scored again. But the red card should give you the upper hand, and it didn't.
Yeah.
They when Brentford got the red card, Wolves played as if they got the red card, and I'm not sure what went down there, but I, I don't know if they went into shock or something. But there are strong, big issues at Wolves at the moment, and if they go down, it's really a sad story. But I think the transfer window really did hurt them this season.
Newcastle and Leeds. To be honest, I actually loved the first half. Second half was a little bit quiet. But Steve Bruce is always under pressure. Even though this game, he tried to play an offensive football, attacked with a lot of players, and that hurt them in the back. Let me ask you something. Why Bielsa is never under pressure, even though they didn't win any game this year, while someone like Steve Bruce is under tons of pressure. Everybody's asking for his head. He's the favorite to get sacked. Why is that? Why is Bielsa protected that much? Is it because he took this team to the Premier League? But they're losing. They're not winning.
Leeds lost to Liverpool, I believe. 3-0? Yeah. They lost to Liverpool, and they lost on opening day to Manchester United. Those are the 2 losses Leeds have registered this season against Liverpool and United, 2 undefeated teams in the Premier League. So I think Bielsa has some grounds to stand on. His 2 losses came against an informed Liverpool and an informed Manchester United. But I also feel the management outside of the team management, the board, they're very smart. If they go to Bielsa and say, look, you need to start, the pressure comes on, and the pressure then gets taken out onto the players. You'll see a manager taking it out onto the players, and then the players start to turn, and you never get the result you're after. I feel like Leeds are a smartly run club that they'll turn around and say, don't win this game, game over. Or, I'm sorry, this is where the door is. Can you please leave? But I just don't feel, after last season and the way Leeds performed last season, I don't think there's a inherent right on Leeds at the moment to put pressure on Bielsa. I just think he's done a fantastic job as is. Whereas Steve Bruce, the writing's on the wall. You've got some great players there. Make them perform. Get some results. And we've seen glimpses of it, but I predicted them to be a team fighting for relegation. This 1 point for both the Leeds and Newcastle could be pivotal at the end of the season, come match day 36, when, you're working out, are we going to get relegated? What do we need? This 1 point could provide some great competition towards the end.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another team that I think is doomed to go down based on the performance and the results. It's not only, as we say, Newcastle, sometimes they perform not great, but sometimes they get the result, like what happened last year with them. They actually finished a little bit far from the relegation zone. But Norwich losing to Watford at home 3-1 is an important, very important win for Watford, by the way, who actually, they are stamping the mark that, hey, we're gonna win. We're gonna try to win against our relegation rivals. They might not perform against the big teams, but they're gonna try to win against the likes of Norwich, Aston Villa. I think Watford are putting the performances that a team that belongs to the Premier League. and I think they might be in they comes the end of the season, they might be in a relegation battle, but I think they are not favorites to go down. Norwich, 5 games, 5 losses. I think it looks like they're going right back down. What do you think?
Look, Norwich, I was excited. I was excited when they came back up. It brought back memories of a couple of seasons ago. And Teemu Pukki, when he was firing, he was on fire for Norwich as a whole. But they look dysfunctional. They look dysfunctional in the squad. They look lost. As soon as a goal scored, their heads in their hands. They don't know what to do, and they look demotivated. The team lack motivation. Whereas with Watford, this team, they look hungry. And you got to think, generally there's 4 or 5 teams fighting for relegation every year. Now, if you beat all 5 of those teams twice, that's 30 points, right? That's 30 points. You should be pretty safe. After you've gotten a couple of draws here, the occasional win. And that's what I feel Watford are doing. And Watford have a quite fairly decent team, but you really got to call out Ismail Sarr. He had a fantastic game with the 2 goals, but I've rated the player for a couple of years now. His pace is absolutely phenomenal. He had the game of his life. And if Watford aren't careful, they will lose him. They will lose him to a better team because he will be a perfect super sub with the legs he's got. But Watford, fantastic. Norwich, look, I just think even the manager, you can't criticise the manager because he's using the tools that are in front of him and they're just not good enough. You can't build a house with plastic tools, that's for sure. And I think that's what he's got at the moment. Even if you get rid of him, who can you really bring in? Honestly, I cannot see a better fit manager for the Norwich at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, games next week. Man, we have an exciting week. This is gonna be a North London derby and Chelsea Man City. I think, as we said in the beginning, this is gonna be one of the biggest game. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a chance to talk about Chelsea Man City. Can Chelsea keep the momentum? Can they win this game?
Oh, look, definitely. I feel Liverpool might be on the same points as them, but I feel Chelsea are the benchmark team at the moment. The performance against Tottenham, it was something to marvel. They just, and I forgot to mention this in that fixture when we're talking about it, but this Chelsea team reminds me of Bayern Munich. They get 1 goal. No, that's not enough. They get 2 goals. No, that's not enough. They'll get 3 goals. No, that's not enough. Right? And they're just relentless. They don't care who they're playing. They treat every team like they're playing as the best team. And if they can put 5, they'll put 5. If they can put 6, they'll put 6. We saw Bayern put 7 on the weekend. You know, it's something that you have not seen in a Chelsea team for a couple of years. Now, Manchester City, on the other hand, well, when their back's against the wall is when they're most dangerous. I know they've got Wycombe in the Carabao Cup, so let me tell you now, I can't see any player from the starting 11 actually taking the field, to be honest, because it should be literally a stroll in the park for Chelsea, for Manchester City, that is, sorry. But when it comes to Chelsea, they've got Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup. So they've got a pretty decent team. And when it comes to these side cups, these domestic cups within England, it's the lower teams you need to look out for. So the Premier League teams that aren't competing for Europe and all of that, they're the ones you got to look out for because they want silverware. And this is their best chance to get that silverware. So Chelsea, how they play against Aston, the team they field against Aston, will be interesting. I was worried for Chelsea against Tottenham in the sense of Kepa started over Mendy. Mendy picked up a knock against Zenit, and they said he's fine. They didn't want to risk him. But Kepa played absolutely phenomenal. Not that he had much to do, but any chances that did come his way, he did stop. But I think, yeah, this game here will be extremely important for both teams. If Manchester City pull the win, this is the catalyst, the spark that will probably propel them into massive title contention. But yeah, if you wanted to put money on this fixture, I'd say Chelsea, but not by much at all. I think it'll be tight. I cannot see 5, 6 goals being scored by City or 3 goals being scored by Chelsea. Mo, do you have the same idea, knowing how Chelsea are on the counter, knowing we've studied Lukaku for the last 2 years very in depth at Inter? Is this the game for him to silence the critics?
The difference between Chelsea and every team in the league, every team of the big teams in the league right now, is that Chelsea are the only team from the top four that can actually play defensive and on the counter, and they can play possession. Every other team, you know exactly what you're facing. You know, when you face Liverpool, you're facing a team that will have position, that will attack you from the sides. You know, when you're facing Manchester City, you're not going to have a lot of the ball. You know, when you're facing Manchester United, what are you facing? Chelsea, you have no idea how they're going to play. Are they going to play on the counter? They're gonna press you. They're not going to press you. And this is the thing that I don't. I think Pep Guardiola has to approach this game with a little bit of thinking about. Also, they have Lukaku, they have Havertz on the counter, and they have Mason Mount, and it's not easy for his defenders to face these players. I think he's going to be balanced. I think Fernandinho is going to start for City because to provide a little bit of a coverage in the defense, but it's too early to call that now, depending on what's going to happen in the midweek for Chelsea, especially against Aston Villa. But Chelsea have the depth. They have enough depth to actually field another team that can still beat Aston Villa while not risking any of the starters. London Derby, it's a very crucial thing for Arsenal because if Arsenal win this game, they're going to be level with Tottenham. And I think this is the chance for Arteta to gain the trust back of the Arsenal supporters. Tottenham, 3 back-to-back losses, 3-0. They need to do better. People got fooled by Tottenham 3 wins in the beginning. They won against City when they were not the better team. They won the next 2 games only by 1 goal margin, 1-0. They did not concede, and people thought, okay, now everything is locked. They're doing great in defense. But you concede 6 goals in 2 games, and to go down that much in 2 games, in the second half of the 2 games, it shows a lot about the character of the team and how this team approaches games. Do you think this is a better chance for Arsenal coming from 2 wins, or it's Tottenham going to bounce back and find this as a chance for them?
I didn't actually know the Arsenal Tottenham fixture was the coming week until you actually brought it up. And the reason I'm saying that is I was talking to a friend this morning and I said, I'm scared for whoever plays Tottenham next in the Premier League. And the reason I'm saying that is Harry Kane and Son have something to prove now. They've got something to prove. There was 100 and something odd million price tag on Harry Kane, and he's gone goalless.
Yeah.
All right, he's got something to prove. Nuno has something to prove, and Son has something to prove. The team as a whole have something to prove, and it's dangerous coming up against that. And I think they have Arsenal covered, but you hit the nail on the head multiple times before. Arteta knows when to get wins to save his job. And there's a certain thing he does where he'll beat Tottenham and his job's secure for another 8, 9, 10 games before they start asking questions again because they beat Tottenham. The fans will turn from being Arteta out to we beat Tottenham. We're the best team. Blah, 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 blah. But I think both teams are coming into this fixture as a very, very disappointing. Both teams have been very disappointing. Arsenal, we've seen. Tottenham, we've both called it, when they're going to get found out. But overall, I think that Tottenham have the ability to break down the defense of Arsenal quite simply. The reason I say that is Gabriel and Ben White, they're improving, but they haven't come up. We saw what happened when they played Manchester City. 5
Yeah.
goals they let in. All right, they beat Burnley 1-0. But have they come up against Son and Kane? No. How are they going to perform against Son and Kane? We don't know. But I don't see it working as well. I see Tottenham coming away with the points, but it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal do get a result out of this.
Absolutely. We are in for a great weekend next weekend of the Premier League. It's kind of like a decisive week. But here it is for everyone. The Premier League is great. The Premier League is exciting this year because we don't see anybody running away with the title early, and also maybe we see a lot of teams outperforming what we think, like Watford, like Brentford, and it's very exciting for everybody. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Wherever you get your uh, your podcast or your videos, don't forget to like and subscribe for our videos, and also follow Football Worldwide for a lot of shows happening. This shows midweek about Serie A and other leagues as well, and also we have a Champions League show here with my guest Bruno hosting a couple of shows for you in the midweek. Make sure
Yeah,
to
so just to give you guys a heads up, Jonathan did make an allude to it. We will be running a competition shortly to get your hands on some of this Football Worldwide merch here, as well as that. Mo hit the nail on the head. We've got Everything EPL hosted by Mo, Serie A Roundtable with Ant, Conversation Starter with Tim and Owen, coming to you this week with another fantastic episode. Can't wait to release that one there. We've got the European Weekly Catch Up. And guys, I'm dropping it here. I'm dropping it now. This week, you're going to see episode 1 of Team of the Week, where we will break down the Team of the Week across all of Europe's top 5 leagues and come up with who we think should be the Team of the Week. Sort of like a FIFA-esque thing. So keep your eyes out. And Mo, I got to say thank you as always. This has been a pleasure being on on a show where it's been such an exciting season so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes. But thank you for having me, mate.
thank you so much for coming, Bruno, and thank you everybody for watching. And hopefully, we'll see you next week in another episode of Everything EPL.